Okay. I am James Hake. This is the Hake Report. It's 9:01 a.m. U.S. Pacific Standard Time. And it is Friday, already Friday, January 29th, 2021. Dang. And I'm live on Twitch, Facebook, DLive, YouTube, Periscope, Trovo, TalkStream Live, I assume, and JLP Live. You can find my show links via thehakereport.com/show. I'm going to be touching on, well, your calls, of course. You can call in 888-775-3773. Some of you guys already on hold. Predictably, Biden is anti-American. So protect yourself. Stay, I don't know, whatever. Anti-American with transparency office closures. I don't know why Trump or the Trump administration waited until so late to create this office to protect American workers from discrimination, but somehow they started an office just earlier this month, and now it's closed down already. An office to protect from preferential treatment given to foreign workers over American workers and graduates. Ridiculous. Immigration, they're banning the truth of illegal aliens, and it's been a long time coming. We call them undocumented immigrants. Stupid. Undocumented citizens. Ridiculous. And they're bringing in the most degenerate people to subvert the country. What a shame. DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, and the New York Slimes pushing lies about so-called violent extremists, and they're outright New York Slimes especially, outright lying about stuff that Trump said, dating back, they're holding on to this day about stuff that happened in Charlottesville, about violence and what Trump meant when he said very fine people on both sides, and that they're accusing Trump of downplaying white terror threat. Meanwhile, they're overstating the white terror threat and the white terror acts. Ridiculous. Meanwhile, black radical cop killer who's in prison is being called a social activist by universities. And the universities over the past years have gotten rid of the term illegal alien too. And meanwhile, too, a meme maker was arrested. It's all insanity, but it's to be expected, honestly. Don't be surprised. Even the Bible says don't be surprised or dismayed at the stuff that's going on. It's true. Anyways, or anyway, if you're American, let's get on with the show.
Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
Hey guys, we're gonna be talking about, man, we just have posers in our government, posing like they're protecting us, like they're for us, and oh man, look at that guy. And it's not true. They're phonies. What a mess.
Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
So, how are you all doing? I am fine. If you didn't catch Hake News during the Jesse Lee Peterson show, I clipped those from the Jesse Lee Peterson show, supposing that you're skipping around the Jesse Lee Peterson show and you miss it, or you have to go step away. Well, I upload those on my channel, and today I talked about how there's no more government transparency on work permit corruption. You guys all heard that the Democrats and rhinos want cheap labor, and that's why they bring in all these, not just illegals, but so-called legal aliens, legal immigrants. And they have all these different types of permits to let you come into the country and exploit our opportunities here in America, right? The for training, for work, for going to school. And then once you've gone to school, to get hired here. And they're pretending, oh, that's pro-American because we're training them here. We might as well keep them here. And meanwhile, like, there are a lot of people who are looking for decent jobs. What a mess. So here is an example of what they did. There was an office that was sort of a government watchdog office that President Trump announced, the Trump administration's deputies, right? January 13th, this office to document and expose corporate discrimination, meaning these big companies that discriminate against Americans, fueled by the huge Occupational Practical Training, OPT program. And that's a vague term, so you know it's liberal. When you can't figure out what the term is supposed to be about, Occupational Practical Training Program, you know it's liberal, meaning deceptive, because they're purposely deceptive, obfuscate the reality of what things are. For example, illegal aliens, that's what they are. Pro-life, that's what they are, but they want to say, oh, anti-abortion, or undocumented immigrant, or undocumented person, which is false. Usually these people are fraudulently documented. Anyway, and they're well documented in many cases. So in 2019, the OPT program provided work permits to 400,000 foreign graduates so that they could take the jobs and opportunities needed by graduates. And I think they're called an F1 immigrant, so-called immigrant, and there are sleazy lawyers who are for this stuff, and they just cry racism against you if you're not for it, right? Or xenophobia, as Joe Biden calls it. Biden is so phony. So the cancellation of this office, because they wanted to prevent companies from discriminating against young American graduates in favor of foreign workers, right? The cancellation was celebrated by immigration lawyers who help Fortune 500 CEOs, huge CEOs, to import foreigners to take the jobs needed by young Americans. Biden's officials also canceled the recent move by the Department of Labor under the Trump administration to limit the outsourcing of U.S. jobs in the huge, and you've heard of this, H-1B visas, H-1B program. They're also expected to undermine other Trump regulations that help protect American graduates from the H-1B program. Major universities help deliver this OPT thing, occupational practical training work permit thing, to fee-paying foreign graduates. Money. They pretend, oh, we're accepting of foreigners. Biden's team is also backed by corporate employers of OPT, occupational practical training, and H-1B workers, including Google, Facebook, Salesforce, Apple, Amazon, Deloitte, Microsoft, and their trade groups. These are some of the groups that boycotted President Trump when he first came out and ran for office back in 2015, June of 2015, because he was calling out the fakes, the people who were pretending to be for pro-America, but making it rougher on the American citizen. Before Trump's arrival, the federal government released minimal information about the huge OPT program. Not very transparent, huh? Not very transparent. In 2018, Trump's deputies released some limited information, allowing Breitbart News and FBI, and I guess there's a few decent people in the FBI. Trump insists that there were some non-leadership FBI people who are decent. I suppose maybe there are. Right? There's some decent people everywhere. To expose widespread fraud. Breitbart and FBI did that. The federal government provides little information about the jobs and wages lost to the OPT program, and now Biden is making it hidden again. He pretended to be for transparency. What a phony. Trump is the most transparent president that we've had in years. And now back to Joe Biden, and Obama was equally untransparent. He pretended we'll be broadcasting stuff on C-SPAN. Nope. False. By the way, he has the fox guarding the henhouse with his DHS pick. DHS is Department of Homeland Security. Department of Homeland Security pick is Alejandro Mayorkas. Mayorkas. And there are some rhinos who are voting for this guy. You know, enemies of you and me in America. Like Mitt Romney, sleazy guy, phony guy. Mitt Romney, the rhino. This is a Breitbart headline about Democrats pushing Joe Biden's amnesty chief. And look at this bug-eyed guy. He doesn't look like a man you should be trusting. Through the Senate. And what is his role going to be? Department of Homeland Security. He's the head of Homeland Security. And he is pro-amnesty for illegal aliens, which means let the illegal aliens stay here in America, even though they don't have any business being in here. And other things too. Pro-Wall Street policies. Push Americans to the sidelines, lower wages, reduce technology investment, bring more un-American Democrat voters. And Mitt Romney pretended like, oh, he said he was wrong for his past mistakes. This Alejandro Mayorkas guy. And he was in the Obama administration before. This Alejandro Mayorkas guy. He was an American, so-called American lawyer and government official during the Obama administration, served in the Department of Homeland Security, Director of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services from 2009 to 2013. Scary, huh? Not scary, but evil. The fox guarding the henhouse. And so now he's the Department of Homeland Security. He's the Homeland Security chief. Rob Portman is another rhino who voted for him, a rhino from Ohio, a senator. Because these guys are in the so-called Homeland Security Committee. Please. He's expected to use regulatory change and administrative shenanigans to put illegals on the fast track to green cards and citizenship. There were several scandals with this guy in the Obama administration, but they put him back in. And Susan Rice, there were scandals with her. They put her back in. Shameful. There's such a thing called EB-5 visas. They come up with all kinds of visas to let these people come in here for wealthy foreign investors. Weird, huh? That's odd. To be expected. Weirdos. Alejandro Mayorkas. I don't know. But that is the Biden administration. They're doing more than just that. They're also banning the truth. You can't say illegal aliens. If you're ICE, you know how they want to shut down ICE? Well, now, first, before they shut down ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which I think was started under the, might be W. Bush administration, I'm not sure. But they don't just want to shut it down. First, they want to humiliate it and turn it into female. They want to ban the truth. Illegal aliens are no longer allowed to be called illegal aliens in ICE, according to Breitbart News. You can't say illegal aliens. They have to be called, and they're promoting, by the way, LGBTQIA illegal aliens. David Shaw is acting assistant director of domestic operations at Homeland Security Investigations, and he gave this order. Biden, by the way, has sought to change the word illegal aliens in our federal law, too. Change the federal law because, according to the federal government, these people are still called illegal aliens. But they want to change that because they're kissing up to the radicals, really, and disguising and obscuring the truth of what's going on. That's not transparency. That's phoniness. You know how with this COVID thing, they're pretending that Trump was not transparent because he tried to be upbeat about COVID. Well, the reality is the mainstream media, the Democrats, and everybody calling dark winter. It's going to be a dark winter. This is horrible. And they're overstating and scaring and trying to scare you, right? Successfully scaring some and intimidating people into compliance, right? Meanwhile, Trump is just even-handed, truthful, but they want to claim that he's downplaying, just like with this white supremacist violence scaremongering. He sought to halt the use of the term alien in the federal immigration laws, like female Democrats at the state level have tried to do. A draft of Biden's immigration legislation reads that the bill recognizes America as a nation of immigrants. Buzzwords. They're not about the truth. They're just about buzzwords. Nation of immigrants, by changing the word alien to non-citizen, which is very vague. That implies that they could be legal or illegal. Department of Homeland Security documents are going to be changed. And I told you that the extreme left, I keep on repeating this story because it's crazy. When I first started becoming producer, it was actually occurred before I became producer, I think. April of 2013, AP style book. AP is the Associated Press. They're like the establishment gold standard of journalism style, right? Of how you write and how you talk. They dropped the term illegal alien. And this was after college campuses, college newspapers, which are mostly written by students, right? Dumb students. And TV networks, a bunch of dummies. You know the TV networks, ABC, NBC, CNN, ABC that promotes transgender stuff, CNN that promotes homosexual stuff, NBC that promotes women and lesbian dumb stuff. They're not based in reality. And they're kissing up because supposedly half of Hispanic voters back at the time thought that illegal alien was offensive, and these sleazy activists told them it was. And they want to pretend no human is illegal. The Library of Congress said they'd quit calling illegal aliens what they are. And the New York Slimes, the failing New York Slimes, that same month that AP did it, later that month they made their change, telling their writers to, we're not going to ban it. We're going to tell you to consider alternatives, pretending that they're independent thinkers. No, you're not. You're kiss-ups. So the mainstream media has been promoting the LGBTQIA illegals. Can you look up the guy Jose Antonio Vargas? That's not a Mexican, that's a Filipino, a radical homosexual Filipino illegal alien. That's a mouthful, right? He has an organization that he calls Define American. Define American. And he calls himself an undocumented citizen. He came here, he was brought here at 12. He's like my age, right? Born in 1981. Yes. In 1999, he came out as homosexual. I guess his senior year of high school, or right after high school. And he wrote and directed and produced this autobiographical 2013 film called Documented, that CNN Films put out, promoting the homosexual illegals. In 2014, they put that out. And Define American, another example of obscuring the truth, obscuring reality. This guy is illegal, shouldn't be here, but he's shamelessly worked. By the way, he shamelessly worked for these so-called journalist companies like Washington Compost. He helped with the Washington Compost way back at some mass shooting, right? This Asian guy shot up Virginia Tech, and he worked on a story. And he and his team who worked on that story in the Washington Compost got a Pulitzer Prize. And then so after he got his Pulitzer Prize, or their Pulitzer Prize, he came out as illegal. And everybody's promoting him. And he was a big proponent of getting rid of the term illegal alien. What a creep, huh? And the creepy media, mainstream media, propping this guy up. They look for the nice faces, nice Pulitzer Prize winning illegals. This is our example. These are Americans. because this is around the time that they changed homosexuality to be a positive thing, even though it's not. What a weirdo. By the way, this guy spoke out against the Defense of Marriage Act that George W. Bush put in, because he said it's an immigration issue, the Defense of Marriage Act. He said it's an immigration issue that the Defense of Marriage Act says it's marriages between one man and one woman. It was put out by during the George W. Bush administration. George W. Bush pretended to be pro-Christian, right? Pro-morals. He spoke out against the Defense of Marriage Act, calling it an immigration issue that disadvantages people similar to him, because he's homosexual, right, from marrying my way into citizenship like straight people can. So you know how illegals will marry just to get their green card, or foreigners will marry just to be able to stay here? Well, he wants to be able to do that, but he wants to be able to do that with a homosexual male, or wanted other homosexuals to do that. Just corrupting the country. And that's the fourth estate. That's the media that's supposed to be looking after, checking speaking truth to power. No, they're speaking lies and degenerating America. It's gross. Anyway, let me get to some calls. I have other stuff to talk about. They're going after white people like crazy. And they're outright lying. The New York Slimes, the DHS. I'm starting to think, well, actually, I already know this, that the people in the government, the workers, the bureaucrats, and the people who get elected, they're all into just lying. They don't mind lying. And they'll put out reports that are lies. And they'll play up stuff that they want to play up for their own political gain and ideological hate white people gain, so that they can change America, because they have this egotistical attachment to their fake ideas of socialism and stuff like that. And the whites are less likely to fall for it. And the men and the Christians and the Trump supporters, they're standing in the way, so they're just smearing these people. Been a long time happening. And also, popular movements, they like to infiltrate them. Bad. Because they want, it's kind of like you want a board member on every powerful group so that you can have control over what's going on. They're doing that. Let me get to Earl in Michigan. He wants to talk politics. Earl, how are you doing?
Hola, buenos dias, little Nazi.
Hey, illegal.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Let's just start off. Tony was right about Thomas Jefferson and so forth.
You don't know that.
And Sally Hemings.
You don't know that.
Now the documents. Let's establish some things. Some things are facts. Some things are documented.
And that's all conjecture. That's conjecture and propaganda, Earl.
And all that.
So, what Earl is talking about, guys, because there's smears upon our great American heroes, founding fathers. And I've heard negative things growing up about Thomas Jefferson. Supposedly he ripped out certain pages from the Bible that he didn't like or something like that. But they're trying to claim that, he raped. Tony said he raped. Not just that he married or had a baby with, he raped this Sally Hemings woman. And it's even questionable, from what I understand, whether this woman was even black and whether he even did it. But these people want to act like something that happened 200 years ago or more, so allegedly actually happened, when we can't even agree on stuff that happened today or yesterday. Give me a break. These people are sleazy liars. Earl, come off it.
Yeah, you through with your rant? Your long soliloquy?
You're going to get hung up, Earl. Hung up on, Earl, if you don't behave.
Behave? What is behaving?
Behaving is dropping the dirty black attitude, Earl.
What is a black attitude? What about your dirty white attitude?
I'm allowed to. I'm my host. I'm the host. It's my show.
So what?
Are you gonna get to your point? Are you gonna get to your point? Or are you just gonna have a bunch of stupid attitude? You're acting like a blonde girl. You're acting like a little girl, Earl.
Oh, you acting like a little incel. You little fag.
What did he really say that? You can't say that. You're a Democrat.
But anyway.
Yeah. Anyway. DNA tests prove most of the claims by the Hemmings family and confirmed none. DNA tests disproved most of the claims by the Hemmings family and confirmed none. Yeah, Tony is nasty. And Earl just got onto that nastiness. Sorry, kids. Don't say the F word. He said the F word for gay. Earl. Yeah, I'm thinking of, I don't know, man. I don't know if I should let Tony back on after that dirty filth. I was surprised. No, I'm talking about Tony. Yeah, Earl is something else. I'm a little surprised by Earl because Tony is known to be kind of dirty sometimes, but Earl pretends like he's classy. Tony pretends to be friendly. Earl doesn't pretend to be friendly, really, but he pretends like he's classy, but he just lost all of his class. Okay, cool. Oh, just doing a little bit of checking the moderators that are handling business over on Trovo. Crazy. Let me get to Howard in North Carolina. I was thinking about Tony yesterday. Like, he's crossing some lines. Are these guys, are they feds? You know how the feds like to undermine and especially they're anti-white and anti-Christian and anti-man, anti-American. And that's what these people are. And then they try to get under your skin and get you to say things. And they pretend to be your friends. But it could just as easily be just nasty people. Because people are nasty and kind of mentally ill, insane, spiritually ill, definitely. And these black collars, Earl wasted his call. And I don't know if I should be letting him back on after that ridiculousness. Earl could have gotten right to his point or just said, oh, you know, I think Tony is right. And I said, no, he's not right. And he starts yelling. Anyway, Howard in North Carolina. Howard, what's up?
Nothing much. What's going on with you?
Not much. Just having a fun show.
I know. I can't believe what Earl just said.
Yeah. Nasty. And he's like too old to even know that word.
Yeah. And they want to have inclusion in Democrats, and then he go and say something like that.
I know. He supports evil, and evil would eat him alive for repeating that. Although they wouldn't, because he said it to me. So they support it. Anyway.
It's just good to hear a white man finally standing up on the platform.
Yeah.
I thank you for that.
Right on. Yeah, there's a lot of guys doing it now. Many of them have been shut down, but that's the way the world is. And we got to keep on pushing and just be a decent example. Before you make your point, that guy, that homosexual guy who's an illegal Filipino guy, I don't know if he's still illegal. He might have gotten amnestied already. But that guy he promotes that fake peaceful and civil protest, right? He promotes that stuff, but that's just a appease and ingratiate and get on the nice, good side of the Americans to fool them into accepting pure evil, because that's all he's for is evil.
Yeah.
And so that's how these people are. But we, too, have to be peaceful, but for what's right.
Right.
Anyway, yeah.
You'd think Earl would call him a fag on TV or online.
That's probably why it was on his mind. I don't know. No, Earl would agree with him, even though it's for the destruction of Black Americans.
Yeah, that's what blows my mind.
Yep.
I just, like I was telling Nick, I don't know what to say or what you can and can't say. I don't want to get you, but this ain't nothing real radical or nothing. I know you've probably seen the video of Biden. He's like at a luncheon thing for the Democrats. This was, I don't know how many years ago it was. And he was talking, and he called them illegal aliens.
Right.
And he said that, you probably seen it, I don't know. I don't know if you can say you can, if you have or you hadn't. He called them illegal aliens, and he said, you're not going to like what I got to say, but we need 750 miles of wall, and these people are bringing in tons and tons of drugs. And now look what they're saying.
Yep. So he said the exact same thing that President Trump said, but Trump actually meant it. And phony Joe Biden, however many decades ago, was being a phony politician. That's why I say that this guy has no backbone. He just goes along with the flow, just like every other phony politician.
I don't mean to talk over you, but
no, yeah, you're fine.
And Obama, he was asked, I don't know how many years ago it was, if he would like to have the third term. I think it was on the news. I read an article about him, and he said he would like to have a third term, but he didn't want to be the figurehead. He wanted to sit in his basement in his pajamas and whisper in their ear, tell them what to do.
Wow.
I think that's what he's doing right now with the Biden. He's got his third term.
That's funny. Yeah, you know, Biden keeps on putting in what I call Obama holdovers. Holdovers.
He's putting in all the people Obama had in there.
Yep. And they're telling Joe Biden what to do. And Barack is right in there. He's been a radical since at least college, a dumb radical, evil. And yeah very true. Interesting.
I know it's been going on a long time, but I'm seeing it now, you know.
And Obama himself was a tool. He's a phony. He pretended to be against same-sex marriage, but we the people who were paying any attention at all, especially Jesse Lee Peterson and Sean Hannity, Jesse Lee Peterson knew that guy was pro same-sex marriage from the start, but he only pretended not to be for it.
Obama?
Yeah, Obama. Yeah. Joe Biden came out publicly in favor of same-sex marriage before Obama did, but Obama was for it all the way since before Joe Biden even held office, if Obama's been alive that long. So, yeah. It's just
mind-blowing to watch what they say now and then hear what they said like 5, 10, or just 10 years ago or 7 years ago.
That's how you know they're liars, and they have no foundation. If you look back 20, 30 years ago to what Jesse Lee Peterson has been saying on the Jesse Peterson TV show and all those, he's saying the same thing that he is saying today, back then. Exact same thing. And same with Trump. Trump was saying the same things back then. You know, he's learned more stuff today, and, you know, he's changed a little bit. He's no longer pro-abortion so much. But Trump was consistent and genuine. These guys, phony and changing with the times. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I went back and watched Jesse back in 1990, 92.
Yeah.
He said the same thing then as he does now.
Yep.
He hasn't changed.
Yeah.
God doesn't change.
Right.
That's why that's how I know Jesse's really from speaking from the heart.
Yeah.
What God's telling him. Yeah, and one more thing. What's his name? Schumer?
Chuck Schumer. Yep.
He still looked real old. I don't know how many years ago it was. I think it when Obama was in. He said illegal alien probably 20 times.
Right. Yeah.
and And now they want to ban that, did you say, from the government?
Yeah, they want to ban it from ICE, and they want to remove it from our federal laws and just change the language.
Yeah, he said it at least 20. He said illegal aliens. I don't know if you've seen that on there, too.
I'm not surprised, because that's what the accepted language was. And that's what they are.
Say you can or you can't see it, haven't seen it. I don't know. I don't want to get y'all banned or nothing, you know.
Alien just means foreigner. They're pretending that, oh, what do you mean, space alien? Stupid. Give me a break.
Yeah.
It's just like the N. I think it's just like the N word. These people start getting offended by different words just because they're told to. There's this mass campaign to call it the worst, most offensive thing, and blackface and all that stuff. Those things were probably not offensive whatsoever, and they weren't offensive whatsoever back in the day. But now they're pretending that, oh, this is offensive. It's shameful.
It's very shameful to what they're doing and what they said even 5, 6, 7 years ago.
But the people are suckers.
Same things. Yes.
Yeah. The people who fall for them and vote for them are suckers.
Yes.
Yeah. Charles Ellis Schumer. That's his name. 70 years old now.
Have you seen that video of him saying that about 20 times? Illegal aliens?
No, I haven't seen it. I mean, I can picture him saying it. And so maybe I've seen a video or two of him saying that, but it's just, we all know these guys are phonies. So, yeah. But that is a good thing to point out, because it just shows that they're phony politicians just changing with blown and beaten by the waves. It's kind of like a double-minded man.
Says in the Bible, yep. You can't be lukewarm. You got to just spit you out of his mouth.
Right.
That's just
embarrassing. These are not men.
Yeah.
I look at that picture of Joe Biden sitting at the Oval Office on the executive desk, whatever it's called, and he's sitting there all skinny. He used to be kind of fat, and now he's all skinny and kind of becoming decrepit and wearing a mask. And then he said, "I guess I'll take my mask off." And very low energy, and not a genuine person whatsoever. But people think that he is. They're suckers. Anyway, Howard, appreciate it. Nice to hear from you. Have a nice weekend.
It's nice to hear from you, too.
All right, take care.
It's nice to talk to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Just people need to wake up and...
Yep, very true.
Yep.
All right, Howard.
People like you and Jesse waking people up.
Thank you.
The more you try, the more Satan's going to push back on you. Just
right.
Like Earl, and they'd really do the research.
Yeah, and it doesn't even really take much research. It doesn't even really take much research. It just takes
just a little bit.
Having people pause. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pause and really question what they know. Question what they think they know.
Right. Well, good to talk to you. I know you got other callers.
All right, Howard. Good to hear from you. Take care.
Yeah. You too. Bye.
All right. Let me get to Steven in Mississippi. He wants to comment on in light or darkness of what Earl and Tony, T too, honestly, T as well, tried to comment on. He wants to comment on how blacks are fixated on hundreds of years ago. What's up, Steven?
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. Remember the cannon hitting who got killed?
Yes.
By the black guy?
Yes, Cannon Hinnant, what was he, 7 years old or 4 years old or something?
Yeah, he just walked out and blew his brains out for no reason.
Right, shot and killed by his neighbor.
And then there was another white kid. I can't remember his name. And then there was the auto parts store worker where the black guy just went in and stabbed him. And then there was that one girl that was saying all lives matter, and the black guy just killed her.
Black on white crime is way more common than white on black crime.
But this is all going on, and they want to complain about 200 years ago. When's the last time that you've seen a white man kill a black child? I mean, I can't even think of one.
I know.
And then there's no outrage. Nothing. Mass media has not covered anything. Nothing even said about Cannon hitting. No black leaders have come out and said anything about the situation.
Right.
It's all ignored. It's like,
No,
it's
of course.
okay, but we could talk about crap from 200 years ago.
Yeah, there's no, you can't keep power if you're honest. If you're a deceiver pushing lies about white on black racism, you can't keep your power if you stay honest. They're not going to be honest about the reality of what's going on, including the DHS. They know that the blacks aren't going to be effective against what they're about because the blacks agree with what they're about because they're suckers. So that's why they're going after whites and calling white people dangerous.
It's just when I hear people calling your show complaining about 200 years ago,
right.
It just makes me sick to my stomach to even hear that because I'm like, you didn't even say anything about this child being, nobody even cared.
I know.
And there's so much black on white violence now because of what they're pushing, and it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse and worse and worse.
And they're encouraged to have this malice towards whites. It's crazy. They're encouraged on college campuses. They're encouraged on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and everywhere. It's promoted by the huge corporations. Communism. They support communism. They do. And yeah, it's really evil.
But
Who cares about? And they talk about rape. The rapes that go on today. Let's just say we're not the primary perpetrators.
Well, I'd like to comment too. I'd like for you to look up the prophecies of the 1800s. There was a bunch of Christian men that got together that were like Jesse of God and had prophecies from God.
Yeah.
What was going on and what was going to happen today, and it's so laid out. And the thing with the illegals is what they're saying is that they're bringing them in here to war with the whites in the South. Right.
No, that's true.
What's going to happen?
Wow.
Is that they want to bring them in to destroy the South because they can't do it.
Interesting.
That's their plan.
Yeah.
But it's called Prophecies of the 1800s. It'll enlighten you.
Okay. All right. I appreciate it, Stephen. Nice tip.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Take care. Wow. It's the South has taken a dive too. I love the South. The South is beautiful. The people there are more decent. And I noticed growing up, and especially like in college days, they were universally smeared. And you noticed it in the mainstream media. Oh, you can't make fun of anybody, but you can make fun of the South or Southerners or Southern accents or Texas accents too, because, you know, they hate the Bushes. And they hate, they don't hate the Bushes because the Bushes are neocons. They hate the Bushes or liberal friendly or compassionate conservatives, fake. But they hate them because they represented a little bit, they represented, even though they're a poor representation of Christianity and of the South and of Texas and of decency. Just full of hate. And it's kind of been a long time coming with the South getting undermined and the people in general getting undermined. You'll even find just nastiness coming out of the South. They're acting like the Northerners. What a mess. Let me get to Justice out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Wants to comment on the economy and China. Justice, it's good to hear from you.
Good to talk to you, Hake. How's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
Good. I'm great. Thank you. So do you have some time? I'd like to talk about China a little bit, how they're affecting our economy at the moment. Just point out one or two kind of critical issues I think that are really pertinent now and it might help people out, you know, and trying to figure out the market and a couple things or whatever, as much as I can in a little bit, you know. And then I've got a second topic related to COVID, but can I just go?
Go for it with regard to China.
Thank you. All right. So, you know, there's so much happening. I read a book. It's called The Stealth War. It's by General Robert Spalding. It's an excellent book if you really want to understand, you know, I'm always looking at different aspects of the market and stuff, and it just helps you understand more about China and the relationship with China and the U.S. and not just with the market, but with technology, with a lot of stuff. So anyway, the the yuan at the moment it's about 0.15 of U.S. dollar. At the moment, they only equal about 3% in total of global trade. But surely they will continue to morph into a global superpower house, in the upcoming future, and as the dollar continues to decline.
Not to mention the fact, Justice, that the Chinese people they're like getting their fingers involved in all parts of the world, including America. Like their people are buying up land here, and those people don't have allegiance to America necessarily, at least not fellow Americans. They're more pro their own thing. They're pro Chinese people and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're pro infiltrating. They're in Canada. They're in Mexico. 32% of our students that are international students studying here, 32% of those are Chinese students.
Right.
And all of those just so happen to be related to people that have huge corporations, in China that are tied to the CCP, and they're bringing business in here. It's extremely, it's all in that.
I heard that Mitch McConnell's wife is included in that. Her family of billionaires involved in
I've more than
CCP.
heard that. No, I've known that for a minute. I've been meaning to talk about that too. That and a couple other ties.
And she was she was Trump's Department of Transportation secretary, wasn't she?
Yeah. She's totally. And also, there's maybe a little China connection with Hunter and Joe and whatever. But anyway, so I just want to try to stay on track with my train of thought here, but. Basically, I'm not going to pretend to understand all the complexities of the world trade in regards to Chinese companies being on the New York Stock Exchange, but it's really problematic for me for many reasons. And companies on the stock exchange it ultimately are grossly paying to fund their military, essentially, when it boils down to it. So basically, before President Trump left office, he signed Executive Order number 13959, which addresses the threats from securities and investments, which are ultimately, finance the communist Chinese military companies in the end. So at least there was that first step taken. So far, I don't think Biden has reversed it or whatever. But I've got two major problems. I mean, I got a million problems with all of this stuff, but I got two major problems. And the first one is that it's not fair in regards to the way we do things. Our companies have to be totally transparent. It goes back to the FDR legislation. It's called the Atlantic Charter, but it's actually really good. It regulates, free trade, world trade. It's been working for us for a long time. But because of that, all of our companies have to be 100% transparent. But the companies, these Chinese companies, and there's a ton of them, on the New York Stock Exchange, they don't have to show us anything because it's considered treason for them to show any of their company's profits or what have you.
Wow.
To us. So basically, we're blindly, helping them make a bunch of money to develop their country, and they're doing it so rapidly. I have a note here. I can't see it, but essentially, I'm aware that they've used more concrete between 2011 and 2013 than the United States has used in a century, the last 100 years.
Wow.
It's incredible, and they're building these huge office buildings in China that they're all empty. They're really trying to migrate all these companies in there that really don't want to abide by any rules and don't care about what the government does. And here's where I have a problem with what the government does, and in a million different ways. But my second problem is where the real horror show comes in. But I just want to mention, in China there are for every two people there's a camera, and
wow.
5G, I know, right? And with 5G, it's basically like computing and networking in one. And if you can imagine, it explodes connectivity. It takes it from 10K to 3 million. If people can try to understand it a little bit.
Let me interrupt you briefly to mention the fact that we hear so-called both sides criticizing China, and that makes me very leery. I've always known President Trump to criticize, and Aznavour is making the point that China is not affecting our economy. U.S. elites who are purposely enacting bad China policy are doing that. And that's something that President Trump has been decrying for since I even knew that he was even interested in becoming a politician, right? And yet now we have Joe Biden pretending, oh, we got to get tough on China. And these politicians saying, oh, we're not going to buy from companies that are manufacturing with Uyghur?
Yeah, I was going to get to that.
Slave labor. But these are phony politicians. I don't trust anything that they're about.
Not just slave labor, man. I called about something way bigger than slave labor. But yeah.
Well, I know that they're supposedly doing much more than just that, but my point is the American politicians are so phony and two-faced with regard to China and everything else. We have like enemies within, and these are our enemies within who are just using China for their own gain, and China's using us for their own gain, and then America is getting weaker. It's a shame.
Yeah, the dollar's going to get weaker. They're going to emerge. Yeah, anyway. Do you mind if I say a couple more things?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so basically, sorry, I'm just trying to keep my thoughts straight. So with all that kind of stuff, the AI, facial recognition, all this kind of stuff, we used to have companies in 2007 like Microsoft, Google, Apple, all that kind of thing. And at this point, that was like 2007. We had AT&T, GE, Microsoft, for example. And now, 10 years later, all of those companies have completely given away to the FANGs and the BATs. And just real quick, the BATs it's just an acronym for the three biggest companies on the stock exchange, the Baidu, the Alibaba, and that's Jack Ma's thing, and Tencent. And so they've often been like the Alphabet, Google, Amazon, what have you. And the BATs are basically the FANGs are kind of knockoff, like variations of those copies of Amazon, Netflix, and they do cause problems, like, with too much information being taken and whatnot.
I'm having trouble keeping up with what you're talking about. But you mentioned that.
This is what I'm trying to get to.
Hold on. You mentioned the that surveillance stuff. That was something that was pointed out with Trump wanted to stop the our drones use from being foreign made, because we were using stuff that was made from a Chinese company to spy on Americans and tell Americans to go home because of the COVID crisis. I remember this being a crazy thing. And so they were using a drone to announce, the park is closed, go home, it's COVID time. It's a Chinese communist virus, and these are communist shutdowns, the American communist shutdown, so-called American. And then they're using the Chinese drone to tell us what to do, and that drone can supposedly get all kinds of information and possibly give it to these Chinese companies. So I don't know, it's just a big weird thing, and we're falling into more of a surveillance state just like them. It's ridiculous.
Totally. Google, Apple, they're bringing it in. They're trying to help them institute it in their country, and now they're trying to issue it in here, and it's already here, a lot of it.
And censorship.
If you don't mind. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, this is the worst of it, and this is the main point that I called about. But, so although I believe like there's a final report coming out with the UK tribunal, there's been a tribunal into, you guys have probably heard that they do some, with the camps, with the Uyghurs and any kind of.
You said a UK tribunal?
Yeah. You can look it up while I tell you.
Into what China is doing?
Yeah, essentially, if this info is new or whatever, I'm sorry, like, it's a little intense, but basically, I'm sure people are aware, like we just said, of the re-education camps, the internment camps it's basically for Uyghurs, Tibetans, Falun Gong, Muslims, Christians, basically people that are religious and that insist on practicing their religion. They put those people on this list. And have you ever heard of an ECMO machine?
No.
Okay, it's a gnarly thing. It's kind of like it can keep your heart and lungs like pumping, even if they're not essentially. I don't know all the details of it. If they're not essentially there, it helps keep bodies alive. All this kind of stuff. It takes your blood out, it reoxygenates it, and it puts it back into your body, and all this kind of stuff. So basically, here's what's happening. Sorry, it's a little heavy, but anyway, the point being, the CCP, allegedly has, I'm going to say allegedly, although the UK tribunal is kind of proving that now. And I'm still waiting for the final report, but they have done like a, preliminary report and some other things already. But basically, they take those religious prisoners and the CCP puts them on a list. And there's estimated that between 60K and 100K a year of organs from these prisoners are sold to the highest bidder. And the CCP will, this is all, of course, alleged rumor or whatever, and I don't believe this. And, I'm learning Mandarin right now, and I'm practicing my goose-stepping and everything. But anyway, the CCP will, they'll type their blood, they'll sequence their DNA, they'll ultrasound their organs, and if you match, a high bidder for an organ or whatever, they'll hook you up to an ECMO machine. They'll hook the other person to it. It's supposed to be extremely uncomfortable. They'll give you a shot to paralyze you, and they will remove and preserve your organs. And if they're ones that you could live without, they might let you live. But if, they can sell the rest of them, well, then they just put the body in the incinerator. And these companies being on the New York Stock Exchange is unacceptable, and we're doing a lot of business with them. The NBA keeps doing a lot of business with them, which makes me sick because, they blew up. They went down there in the Olympics and LeBron and Kobe and even Mao, what's his name? Mao Ying, what's it? I forget.
Yao Ming.
Yao Ming. I said it backwards. Yeah. They all blew up so much that they just kind of compromised their whatever. And they're just all up in China's, culture and community. And it's sickening because these things are happening and it's coming out and it's not a secret. And, anyway, but that's kind of the one topic I wanted to talk about.
That's
but
wild.
I do want to warn people, about, 5G and to look into it a little bit. And that basically, at least
I've heard concerns about 5G. Even Wi-Fi.
So
they say to turn off Wi-Fi when you're sleeping in your room and keep it more than 3 feet away, and stuff like that. And the LTE.
Yeah.
There has been concerns about cell phones causing cancer. I remember Rush Limbaugh was making fun of that back in the 90s because he attached one to his head.
Don't you feel the pain in your hands when you're watching a video on your cell phone? It's gnarly. Yeah, but it's not that. But yes, I have heard. Who knows? Stuff is kind of untested, really. You never know what that stuff is. That's not the aspect I'm getting at, though. That's terrible. But the point being, basically 5G is essentially me just walking around, with everything turned off. And then I think, oh, I wish I had an Uber. And then an Uber showing up at my door in a couple of seconds. And, while I'm in the Uber, my bank account already being deducted. And they're going to try to stop getting us using money, like paper money.
Right.
They're gonna, it's gross. You need to go to digital currency. And then come for the guns and all that. But anyway, my point was also Eric Schmidt, he used to be the CEO of Google. He even said recently, I think it's a bit too late that the tech with the U.S. and tech with China really need to divorce and diverge. And, it's got to happen. It's really a gnarly thing. Yeah.
Wow. I appreciate it, Justice. Thank you for the tips.
Cool. And there's also a COVID-related thing, but, maybe I'll call you back about that another day.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
Take care.
All right.
Have a nice
Thanks,
weekend.
man. You too. You too.
Right.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. We're going to have Church with Jesse Lee Peterson this Sunday and every Sunday, 11 a.m. Make sure you check out every Wednesday, by the way, if you don't know already. Every Wednesday, we have the Throwback Sunday service premieres, 4 p.m. My time, 4 p.m. Los Angeles time. I'm going to take a quick break. I will get back to calls, 888-775-3773. I'm going to show you some ridiculous quotes from the New York Slimes, and they're referencing this bulletin from the DHS about white terror or about Trump supporter terror, right-wing terror. It's so ridiculous. And they're falsely accusing Trump of downplaying when they're the ones upplaying the drama. And again, I will get back to calls. Hang tight, guys. Stay tuned for the rest of Hour 2. I will be right back. That is Bright Lights, also known as John Parfitt. JONPARFITT. What was that song name?
Save My World.
Save My World. Nice. So I'm going to touch on this DHS and New York Slimes story. It's just ridiculous what they're pushing. And real quick, let me just show you the picture of Joe Biden sitting at his desk before I'm going to sign this executive order. I'm going to sign this executive order. I guess I'll take off my mask since you guys are far enough away. And I'm kind of exaggerating, but this guy has such low energy. And by the way, he said, and I'm getting rid of something that the president, former president, referring to President Trump, did to fix it. Well, I coughed maybe 2 more times than he did. And a cough, doesn't that disperse throughout the air really badly? We were looking at how coughs spread throughout grocery stores. And this guy's coughing in the Oval Office with all the media in there. But I guess he's the most at-risk person in the room. Very sickly. He seems like he seems like he's on his way out of office, at least. I don't know if he's sickly enough to be, like, dying or anything. But, you know, all this conjecture about, are they going to do the 25th Amendment on him? You know how Nancy Pelosi, one of you guys gave me this tip, called in with the tip saying, Nancy Pelosi wants to institute the 25th Amendment, but it's not about Trump, it's about Biden. Kick Biden out so that out with the old and in with the new. They've been hating old white men forever, right? And Joe Biden is a poor representation. But he is old. Not that old, but he's an old 78, right? There's some young 78-year-olds. Sheriff Joe Arpaio, I think he's 84, and he's, like, sharper than Biden. Anyway, and in with the new. In with the new. The new and the suckers. Biden and Obama both heartened by the fact that the young people are a bunch of idiots who are so-called progressive. And they'll snitch on you. And they'll attack you for being imaginary racist and imaginary sexist. What a shame. Anyway, let me get to Trick. I think his name is Trick in Montana regarding the Chinese control stuff. Trick, what's up?
Hey, Hake, how you doing?
Doing fine. It's been a while since I've heard from you. Nice to hear from you.
Yeah, I've been out in the backcountry of Montana doing some hiking up in grizzly bear country. But I tune into your show once in a while when I feel like haking.
Nice.
So I came in, and I'm listening to you with my guilt-free loincloth. Now, this is the deal. You said something really compelling this morning. This is what you said. And you're kind of, I liked it because I haven't heard any of the other talking heads I listen to talk about it.
Right on.
And what it is this whole thing with China, where you see kind of this, the right, the establishment right, neocons, rhinos, however you want to label them, and the left making China, that's the problem.
Right.
Now, this is the gig to me, because I've studied this stuff my whole life. I'm a Cold War soldier and a veteran. And anyone who studies Chinese communism, Maoism, forms of tyranny, that's an ugly reality. Everyone can agree. We can all agree on that. But there's something real bizarre here when you kind of peel back layers of the onion. There's all kinds of things about China that you'd say, okay, well, that's a great thing. Culturally, food, you can go on. And there's this trend in the cities, not only with black on white crime, but black on Asian crime.
Yep.
And it's happening. And anyone who's in the criminal justice field knows it's happening.
Yeah.
So this is kind of my conjecture.
I only know that because of Colin Flaherty, actually.
Yeah, I studied his work, but I've been in the street a lot. It's happening.
Yeah.
So this is the gig to me. I believe the greater enemy is not China, but they basically NATO and the West, however you want to put that together, Turkey is part of NATO, basically are pushing for a war with China.
Oh.
And possibly
a hot
China,
war?
Russia. I think it'll go there eventually. I think that it's kind of happening now at the levels of encroachment and espionage and et cetera, and no innocent parties there. But right. I always get a kick out of when some of these black collars call, and I don't know if they really understand what will happen if we go into a hot war with China and how it'll affect the inner cities and black culture. I mean, I don't think they really get it. And I'm like, wow, man. And they seem like they're being like almost manipulated and used. And I'm like, wow, man, you guys think you have it so rough. And we go into war with China. The United States goes into war with China. The United States is never going to be the same again, ever. This ain't going to be a basketball, but this ain't going to be a basketball game. You know, you dig? This is going to be serious stuff with disciplined people. So it's just something we should watch, because I think however you look at the establishment or the cabal, it seems like they're pushing towards this. And I hope I'm wrong on this.
They're definitely, whatever they're pushing for, it's not good. By the way, what is a somebody asked in the chat, and I was wondering the same thing. What is a Cold War veteran? What do you mean by that?
I served in the 82nd Airborne, 86 through 89 during the Cold War.
During the Cold War. Okay. So
yeah,
did you go anywhere?
Yeah, I was deployed to Panama, Honduras, chased some Sandinistas, was down in Panama.
And it was a Cold War, so you didn't really engage in outright fighting.
Low intensity conflict.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It was but it was a time at Fort Bragg where, that's a major part of U.S. military strategy. So, it's basically a spy environment.
Right.
There's so much going on with operational security. It was the beginning of Delta Force. And, I'm not going to drop names, but I worked with some significant people in the chain of command that if I said, you would know who they are. So, I've been around a bit. I've got a degree in security management. I've worked in the security field. So,
so you think that they might get us into like a hot war, meaning dropping bombs and everything short of including nuclear war?
Well,
how can you not have nuclear war?
Well, how can't you? That's right. Indeed.
Yeah.
I would say it's just important for some people to watch this and to kind of be aware of, like, you just look at, everybody seems to be like, oh, China. There's all kinds of things with Chinese, like Stalin called Chinese communism bread and honey communism. It's a different flavor. It's a different reality.
Oh,
there's all kinds of Chinese people in Singapore and Taiwan and Hong Kong that don't want Chinese communism.
Yeah.
But there seems to be this like broad brushstroke going on with China right now. And I'm like, and I talk to friends about it, and they know me. They're like, we know you don't like Chinese communism. I don't like any form of communism. I don't like the Democratic communism.
Yeah, that's what's crazy is that they're criticizing the Chinese for whatever they're doing to the Uyghurs, but look at what we're doing to the babies. Not you and me, but the so-called Americans are killing babies and harvesting their organs and all kinds of madness.
Yeah, that's a whole other area. But you're right. There's trying to be a moral exemplar and things that are going on.
Oh, yeah, and the control over speech and language and people's minds and the brainwashing and the social pressure to the so-called struggle sessions. They're doing that to children and teachers. Like, I'm hearing, I follow on Telegram, like Vincent James and others, who share these Periscope videos from parents who are talking about in Garden Grove, California, OC, Orange County, just down the road, which is supposed to be like a fairly conservative, white and Asian area. I think of it as mostly Asian. But the schools there, the kids are having these so-called struggle sessions to talk about their struggles and discrimination and tell on the teachers and tell on the parents if they're not sufficiently fake woke enough, That's the same culture that China and North Korea, we're told, has. It's sick what's happening in America. It's really sick.
Yeah, it's definitely a variant. What's interesting is they're also to be at least in positions of power, ones looking at themselves as the ones promoting freedom, while they make Chinese communists out to be them better than. And it's basically the same thing, but it's a variant. It's just
rolling my eyes. Give me a break, huh?
Yeah, it's a control. It's just control, and one more thing, just real quick on another subject, the slavery issue. Because I talk with friends of mine, black veteran friends of mine. When you really look at what went on with Africa and the Islamic slave trade, and the Dutch and English kind of being down the road in the supply chain, and African chieftains selling out their own people, man, people need to peel back the layers on it and really look at the slavery issue with some objectivity.
Yeah, I mean, all human beings have the capacity to be cruel to each other, and they did. And to this day, they are.
They have.
Yeah.
They have, and that's a fact. If you go into cultures where there's not been other like races, and you give one a blue jersey and a red jersey, they'll start doing it.
It's like, and I bet you that the white slave owners here in America were some of the most decent slave masters that you can find anywhere in the world, for the most part, right? They were Christians. They taught them to be Christians and all that stuff.
Yeah, there's truth in that. I think only 5% of the South owned slaves. There were black slave owners.
Right.
There's all kinds
and they were
of
harsher. I've been told that they were harsher than the white slave owners, which I believe.
Well, I think that when you watch human behavior, you see that. I've lived in Chicago, LA. Yeah. No, I mean, for sure that the thug comes out. No, man. And I was talking to his brother one time in the hood in Chicago talking about this issue. I said, man, you talking about keeping it real. You can't keep it real with me. And he looked at me, and I was working for this black dude, a cop in Chicago. And this dude said to me once, he said, dude, that dude ain't against slavery. He's against being a slave. I said, man, I know that. I said, I get that. We laughed.
That's funny.
So, it's funny, but the whole slave issue has to be looked at, because my view is a lot of politically correct multicultural culture. They're not against slavery. They want to make people into slaves.
Right. Comfortable slaves. That's why they're trying to spoil us.
Yeah, and they're projecting. It's just a psychological projection. It's like, man, you don't want freedom. You just want me to be your slave. You're crazy.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is just the main reason I called is when you said that about China.
Yeah.
That is something that people really need to watch, because I think there's this whole thing where they want to make it like, oh, the Chinese, the Asians, the Chinese. Hey, man. Hey, Hake. They're doing great on tests. They're disciplined.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can say whatever. There's some bad actors, but hey, man, they get it done. And so, hey, Whitey, wake up. You know what I mean?
We have to.
You know?
And then Joe Biden turns around and says, oh, we're going to combat anti-Asian and anti-Pacific Islander discrimination.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Joe Biden. He looks so old, says Joel. He's like, he does.
But he's a puppet. He'd have to say
older
that.
Pictures, because he used to be fat. Kind of fat.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hey, I got a question for you. Does anyone know, was Joe Biden really his babysitter? Is that true?
No, I don't know about that. I think that,
I don't know either.
No, because he used to have a different wife and other kids, and then he married Jill shortly after his other wife died in a car accident. But
well, I knew that, but I heard someone say she was the babysitter before that happened.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Anything is possible, but I don't know. Yeah.
This turned to crazy though. I feel a movie coming. No, funny. All right, man. I just wanted to. I heard you say that, and you're the first person who said that. I'm like, wow, man. It seems like neocons and the liberal establishment are positioning themselves, despite what Biden did, because that stuff's kind of phony surface stuff.
Right.
He has to say.
Yep.
But there seems to be like a positioning to like, okay, we're going to deal with China, and I'm like, have you guys learned this lesson in Vietnam? I mean, Chinese infantry are no joke, and look at the state of the American mail.
Right.
And these thugs in the hood can't fight these guys.
Yeah.
No, I mean, they're just criminals, man. Yeah. Anyways.
Appreciate you, Trick. Thank you. Take care. Yeah. Oh, did you find any older pictures of Joe Biden? I just remember seeing Joe Biden for example, even as recently as, there he is. He looks meatier, healthier a little bit. Still phony. That's not. Is that him? Yeah. Whoa. That's interesting. You can see why he became a politician, because he's like tall. No, because at one point he got kind of fat and not good looking. That's him when he was like that has to be like college student status. He was skinny back then too, because he started to turn into a bit of a fat politician, a fat cat, pretending to be fair. Around the time of like the early '90s with Clarence Thomas's confirmation and stuff like that. Yeah, look at that. Fat tie. What a mess. Joe Biden. That's interesting. Joe Biden became this fake version of, imitation president. Imitation presidential. Yeah, I've heard all kinds of things about the slave trade. People just need to calm down. Be sane about it. The sane, common sense people are like, this doesn't even matter. But there is, I'm sure, a lot of lies being pushed in the history books. Propaganda is what it is. And it's very in vogue to smear the whites from back then and to this day, and to claim, oh, slavery was so terrible, and be a drama queen about it. Give me a break. Be a man up. Let me show you the DHS. This is from Revolver News, and they link to an archived version of the article from the failing New York Slimes. DHS hypes, this is the Revolver headline, domestic extremist threat in a new terrorism alert. And honestly, they can't even honestly hype it that much, but the media is sure going to cover it. I have the actual headline from the New York Slimes reads, extremists emboldened by the Capitol attack. Yeah, right. Nobody was emboldened by the Capitol attack. That was bad for anybody who wants what's right? And that's what they mean by extremists, right? They pose a rising threat, says Homeland Security. And they say that the warning was a notable departure from the Department of Homeland Security, which was accused of being reluctant during the Trump administration to publish intelligence reports or public warnings about the dangers exposed by extremists and white supremacist groups. And that's only because the media figures and these phony experts have an agenda to smear and scaremonger about white extremism and white racism. And yes, I'm sure that they're going to be more, it was in some of my predictions for 2020. I'm like, aren't we due for another stupid person going nuts and overreacting and doing like either a mass shooting or some type of terror attack to be blamed on white people and to go after our Second Amendment and all that stuff? Aren't we due for one of those things? Because they like to they like to exploit those things, and those things are bound to happen with the endless attack on white people and the attack on morals in our culture. People are so poorly raised, they fall into anger and doing stupid stuff like that. Blacks are doing it like crazy, but it's not as highlighted. And so here is their bulletin. I have the bulletin from the National Terrorism Advisory System. And it's a bulletin. And they have types of advisories on the right side of this thing. The lowest advisory is a bulletin. And so that's all this is. It's a bulletin. Because they can only lie so much. They're, white or something, intellectual. And so that describes current developments or general trends regarding threats of terrorism. Elevated alert, which is not what this is. But the mainstream media pretends that it's an elevated alert. Warns of credible terrorism threats against the United States. An imminent alert means warns of credible, specific, and impending terrorism threat against the United States. And these people butcher the reality all the time. This is the DHS. Is the FBI part of the DHS? I don't know. But the FBI has been tipped repeatedly about, warning about the Tsarnaev brothers from Russia. all this posturing about, ooh, we're going to get tough on Russia. We're going to get tough on China from these phony politicians who are not tough at all. But Russia warned us about the Tsarnaev brothers, who you may recall committed that terror attack at the Boston Marathon years back. With one of those Tsarnaev brothers was put on the cover of like Rolling Stone magazine, like he was a rock star, and made him all look all hip. A Muslim terrorist from I forget what country, but they're like white looking, sort of. The Tsarnaev brothers. And they were tipped, and they had the warning, but they didn't heed it. Tipped from Russia. And then sure enough, they do these crazy pressure cooker bombs in the middle of the Boston Marathon bombing. Look at this. Horrific. So what use is it? What use is the FBI, the DHS, this Homeland Security nonsense, but to be wolves in sheep's clothing, foxes guarding the henhouse, to let people like this in? These guys came in, I believe, as like refugees, Muslim guys. And the second generation, usually the kids who come in here, they grow up, and more often than not, it's not the first generation that becomes the terrorist, it's this younger generation that becomes the terrorist. When they do. On the very rare occasion, of course. But nails and shrapnel went into people's bodies, killed some people, I believe. It shut down the city of Boston, I remember. It turned it into a ghost town. The next day, the Boston Marathon is supposed to be this big hippie event. You run a marathon, or people watch you, and then everybody goes home and celebrates their PR, or, oh, I finished, or, oh, I couldn't finish. But no, the next day, nobody out on the road. And there was this manhunt for the Tsarnaev brothers. One of them they killed, the other one they found inside like some guy's boat that was parked inside his like driveway. FBI, it was a big manhunt. Turned Boston, a bustling big city, I don't know how big, into a ghost town. Nobody out on the road, nobody going to work, over 2 guys who committed a terror attack. And we had warning. And the FBI failed. Right? And no, but you're being, what is it called? Xenophobic. Look at that. It's crazy. What year was that? Do you know, Joel? It was several years ago now. Maybe 2014 or something? 2013. Tsarnaev brothers. And I don't even think that guy's been executed yet. I don't even know if he will be executed. Because the country is so soft and against actual justice. Yeah, I know. And they have this line about us getting into these Middle East wars. We have to fight them over there so they don't come fight over here. And then they say it's wrong not to let the refugees that we created by fighting these wars into here. Look at that crazy explosion from back then. And Muslims are like, what, 1% or 3% or less than 1% of the U.S. population, but they constitute a hugely disproportionate number of the terror attacks. And terror attacks are not the only evil. Let's not pretend. Because there's a whole lot of evil being ushered in by all kinds of people in America, including our government. What a mess. They said throughout 2020, domestic violent extremists, DVEs, targeted individuals with opposing views, engaged in First Amendment protected nonviolent protest activity. Yeah, right. Those people were attacking us. I'm talking about Black Lives Matter and Antifa. They were targeting us. And they've been, throughout the last 5 years, they've been attacking Trump supporters, domestic violent extremists. But no, they want to talk about the El Paso, Texas Walmart shooting by that guy who was a eco-fascist. He was talking about how, oh, we're overpopulating America and automation is going to drive away jobs and we need Andrew Yang style, give us money. and we need to stop the immigration. So I'm gonna try to start a race war and scare the Hispanics. So I'm gonna go in and shoot up this Walmart in El Paso, Texas, which I think is just across the border from Juarez, Mexico, which is one of the most dangerous cities in the world, I think. I could be wrong, but I think it is. Killed 23 people, and I forget whether he was caught. I think he was caught, and I don't remember if he was killed or what happened to that guy. But they're bringing that up, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. But they're pretending, oh, that was Trump-inspired. This is Trump's America. Give me a break. This is the America that the past decades have created where can you imagine like a country where white Americans, so-called Americans, right, get so poorly raised that they fall to this type of mindset where they think that it would be a good thing to do this type of an attack, right? They have to be a terrorist in their own country. Isn't that strange? It seems strange to me. And then they blame the victim, right? They blame the victims, meaning the decent people. DHS is concerned these same drivers to violence, referring to long-standing racial and ethnic tension, including opposition to immigration, has driven DVE attacks. How about a long-standing government not representing the people, not protecting the people? They justify the Muslims turning into terrorists. They say, oh, you messed up their land, so of course they're going to be terrorists. But when the white people feel like their land is getting messed up, and then like one of them turns into a terrorist out of however many hundreds of millions, one of them turns into a terrorist, and this guy is not even for what's right. He just wants to start a race war. He's just mad. He's angry. And then they say, oh, we need to clamp down on white people. They're just anti-immigrant. Racial and ethnic tension. They don't want to deal with the real issue. Phony people. Homegrown violent extremists. Inspired by foreign terrorist groups. True. 2. And then they say how you can help. Report suspicious activity and threats of violence. Well, there's people who think that speech is violence. Nowadays, people are so degenerate. The New York Slimes. This is written by Zolan Kano Youngs, and then I will get back to calls. Hang tight, guys. Zolan Kano Youngs, hyphenated last name. I think it's a woman. And David E. Sanger. Any relation to Margaret? They said, listen to this. Listen to this lie from the New York Times. Slimes. Starting with deadly extremist protest. The deadly extremist protest in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017. I'm sorry, that was not extremist. It was not a deadly protest. It was a mostly peaceful protest. And then Antifa attacked. Some of the alt-right wanted to retaliate, some of the dress-up types. And then this one guy who's like mentally ill got into fights with his mother, allegedly even threatened his mother. He's mentally off, and that's any kind of movement is going to attract people like that. He flipped out when his car got bashed by Antifa sticks, right? And he drove into the crowd and killed somebody. So they call that deadly extremist protest. No, it's just anger. And it was anger that was uncontrolled. The police didn't separate Antifa from the peaceful white protests, mostly peaceful white protesters. Such lies, right? And then they said when Mr. Trump said that there were very fine people on both sides, he played down any danger posed by extremist groups. No, he did not. That's false. He said there was violence on many sides. Violence on many sides. So they're lying about him. And he said, what about the alt-left? It's the liberals who are not honest about the violent, extremist, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, scum of the earth people. They just want to focus on whites. Listen to this. Even after the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, in September 2019 singled out white supremacists, so-called, which doesn't even exist, as a leading domestic terrorism threat, analysts and intelligence officials said their warnings were watered down, delayed, or both. Because they're not objective people. These are people who are raised and born in this fake scaremongering about racism and whites, blah, blah, blah. Former officials in the Trump administration have even said that White House officials sought to suppress the phrase domestic terrorism. You can understand why. Because they're calling Trump supporters terrorists now. We could see it coming. So they're not honest people. As recently as last September of 2020, I think, a former top intelligence official with the department, Brian Murphy, filed a whistleblower complaint accusing department leaders, including Acting Secretary Chad Wolf, who's a piece of work himself, right? He's a soft person, and Kenneth T. Cuccinelli II, of ordering him to modify intelligence assessments to make the threat of white supremacy appear less severe. Because it's not that severe, give me a break. And include information on left-wing groups to align with Mr. Trump's messaging, to align with reality. Give me a break. This Brian Murphy guy. I bet you look into him, he's just a dumb liberal. Mr. Wolf and Cuccinelli, those are rhinos. Well, Cuccinelli I'm not as familiar with. I have a more positive impression of him, but he might just be a rhino. Wolf, I know, is a rhino, if he's even Republican at all. He's not he's the one kissing up to the white thing, too. White fear. Anti-white fear, right? They denied the accusations, by the way. There was a congressional backlash. The Congress people. Look at the people in Congress. They're not honest people. You have Cortez in Congress saying that that Ted Cruz almost had her murdered. That's what Cortez said. Please. But Wolf said that violent white supremacy was the most persistent and lethal threat in the homeland. The intelligence official involved with the bulletin who put out this bulletin, right? It's not even a warning, right? Spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss its findings, added that the public warning should have been issued as early as November when Mr. Trump was making escalating series of false accusations, this is what the New York Times says, about the election. It turned out to be true. It turned out to be true. And that far right, meaning centrist groups, continue to be galvanized by these false statements. We love Trump for telling the truth. And it's something that we've known for decades before Trump even came on the scene about the lying liberal media and election shenanigans and all that stuff before we even knew that Trump was going to run for president. But at the time, Trump was also seeking to dismiss department officials whom he regarded as disloyal, including Christopher Krebs. Remember this story? Christopher Krebs, the chief of the cybersecurity agency, he's the one with the DHS in bed with Dominion and voting systems and in bed with Smartmatic. They're all on this advisory board thing, right? That committee declared that the election had been the most secure in American history. They just used that quote. It doesn't have to be true. They just have to say it. And Krebs is another phony person, dumb liberal, anti-Trump guy. The agency failed to issue a warning to state and local agencies, warning of specific violence aimed at the Capitol before the attack on January 6th. So, what a mess. That's why we have to be perfect and blameless, because they're going to hold you to a fake, impossible standard. Meanwhile, a black cop killer is called a social activist. That's Christopher Krebs. Looks like a cheap knockoff imitation of a wannabe Tucker Carlson. No, that guy's a government official, this Chris Krebs guy. Indiana University referred to a convicted cop killer. Remember this Asada Shakur woman? You may not even remember because this may have taken place before you guys were time, because before many of your guys' time. As a social activist and a political prisoner is what the blacks call her. A cop killer who's in prison. Probably should have been given the death penalty. Cop killers usually get the death penalty, or should in many cases. Call her a social activist. And it's funny that a university said that because universities lead the way to changing the language. They stopped using illegal alien, and then pretty soon, so did NBC, ABC, CNN, and then pretty soon, so did AP Stylebook. Stop saying illegal alien. So they're going to call black radicals social activists and political prisoners. And meanwhile, this is Asada Shakur with her crazy afro. She was part of, she was among those radicals from way back in the early days of the Black Panthers. Look, she has handcuffs on. Crazy. I don't know if that's where Tupac got it. You think?
I bet you. The black woman don't like cops.
Yeah.
In the black community.
Right. I think that he might have been Shakur before, though. Maybe his mother. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, all those people are just radicals. Even that guy who wrote Between the World and Me about brainwashing his son to hate white people, right? Ta-Nehisi Coates, his father was a Black Panther, and he runs a Black Panther bookstore. So these are like generations of brainwashed people. Meanwhile, a meme maker got arrested for trolling. I heard that he told on Twitter, he told the blacks back in 2016 or 2017, you can vote by text. You can vote by text. And so the FBI that feels sorry for blacks and hates whites, they arrested this guy, 31-year-old conservative Ricky Vaughn. I don't think that's his real name, but I think that's who they're referring to. Tucker Carlson responded to that earlier this week for making memes. He made memes and exposed liberals as liberals, and some of it was falsely called disinformation. Just like what President Trump, he tells the truth, they call it disinformation or lies or false claims or without evidence. Usually he's telling the truth. Same thing with a lot of these memes, I bet, but they're accusing him of disinformation. And disinformation is suppressing the vote. That's Tupac's aunt, according to chat. Asada Shakur is the aunt of Tupac? What a mess. I don't think that's true. But maybe you guys know more than I do. And by the way, the Canadian government, I heard on the internet that the Canadian government is rushing to label white people as terrorists. So, can't flee to Canada. I heard that on the internet. Anyway, let me get to Miss Anonymous of California. Ms. Anonymous, how are you doing?
Hi, can you hear me better today?
Much better. You're sounding great right now. Loud.
My cell phone must have a bug from an app.
Okay. Yeah.
This is a landline. Anyways, so you were talking about the bombers from the New York marathon bombing earlier?
The Boston Marathon. Yeah.
So Boston Marathon. So Cynthia Johnson got like one or two threats supposedly from conservatives, and then she turned around and threatened a whole group, right?
Yeah. Are you referring to that woman from Michigan or somewhere?
Yeah, she was over in the...
C.A. Johnson.
Yeah, Cynthia Johnson.
Cynthia A. Johnson, yeah.
She was a Democrat that was...
Short-haired.
Yes. Nearly bald, shaved short blonde hair. She's a black woman, if I'm allowed to say that.
Right.
Well, I'm a Mexican descent woman, and shout out to my boy Brandon Johnson. So she went and turned around and accused a whole group.
Yeah.
And threatened a whole group.
Right.
She sicked her dogs on all of us.
Yeah.
I'm a conservative Mexican woman of Hispanic descent, and I'm proud to be American. I know women who are here as what's it called? When they're running away from being attacked, and she's a refugee, basically from Mexico, a political refugee. She's a political refugee from Mexico, and those people do not want the border open so that they can be attacked freely here in the United States. If they let anybody come through the border, she could be murdered so easily. And
Who is this? Who are you referring to?
Oh, a lady I went to school with.
Oh, okay. Wow.
there are people
so
here that have run away.
She's here in hiding from
She's hiding. She's
Mexican
a refugee.
criminals.
She's a political refugee.
Wow.
And people like that, people that are leaving south of the border, they're coming here for protection because there's no protection there.
Wow.
But if they open the borders, people will have no protection from the criminals that are trying to come here.
Good point.
To follow them and get retribution.
That's so true. Yeah.
And so she attacked a whole group. So how come we aren't attacking a whole group of people that did the marathon bombings of Boston? How come we don't,
I know.
Put up a ban against all of them since we're being banned from Twitter? Like, how is it that the president of the United States is banned from Twitter and
it's
Facebook
ridiculous.
and YouTube and all this other stuff? But like, as my liberal friend said, but isn't it a private company? Yes, it's a private company, but does that make it right? Is that fair and balanced?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's not fair and balanced.
And they're not holding to the contracts that they put us to. They make up these vague rules and then selectively enforce them against only the independent-minded people, not against the zealots who are blind and brainwashed and agree with them. You're right. It's creepy.
They're very hypocritical. They're nonsensical.
And by the way, they're in bed with the government.
They're in bed with the government.
Yeah.
They don't care about protecting us. They're just trying to cause friction in our country, because what did the emperors in the old days do when they were in the background doing contracts and causing chaos? They would distract us, right? They would distract us with their
games and gladiators and all that stuff.
With their games of thrones, right?
Yep. Yeah, and then give us bread and circuses. What a mess. They still have to go back, says Brandon M. He says sorry. Not to be confused with Brandon Johnson. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Brandon M. about that. Some of these people are claiming to be escaping violence and stuff from Honduras and all that, but I don't know what the reality is. And many of the people coming up here are men. They're not women and children. I would say most of the people coming up here in these caravans are men. They're not women and children. And they're pretending to. Anyways, Miss Anan, appreciate it. Nice to hear from you. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. Let me get to Joe in Phoenix, Arizona. He wants to correct me on stats and on slavery. Joe, what's up?
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Yeah, you mentioned 5%. It was closer to 30%, according to the Smithsonian of South homes in the South that own slaves.
5% of homes? You said 30% of Southern homes were slave-owning homes?
Correct.
Huh. Who cares? But, yeah, I mean, I've heard it was 2% of the population. But that's probably the population as opposed to the homes.
More than those numbers.
Well, yeah, who knows? The Smithsonian is pretty compromised, you know? Aren't they the ones who have that thing that kisses up to the horrors of slavery and stuff like that? They're liberals.
I wouldn't say kissing up at all now.
Yeah, they kiss up big time. But anyway.
Was very common, as was whipping.
What's that?
Branding and whipping were very common.
Right.
The average slave was sold between 5 to 7 times in their lifetime away from their family. So, James, there's many, many reasons why slavery was just evil.
All right.
But more importantly, there's a great story on Real Sports. I don't know if you have HBO or not. This month about Charles Adams.
Okay.
He's a police officer in Minneapolis during the whole James Blake thing.
James Blake thing. What was that?
I'm sorry, not James Blake. The guy who got the cop on the neck.
Oh, yeah. George Floyd.
Yeah, it's George Floyd. Anyway, Charles Adams is a cop there, a black guy who took over a local high school football program and changed it around, and just a great story of how to really make an impact, positive impact on the community and these kids, and got them off the street
Isn't it a mess, though? Isn't it a shame that it comes to cops doing that? What about parents? But, I mean, it's nice when cops do nice things like that. I like that.
That's actually part of the story, because Charles Adams' father is a cop also, and he's one of the assistant coaches. So this guy had a great, strong father who kept him on the right track, and now he's paying it forward with these other kids.
Yeah.
And he got other cops to be assistant coaches also, including a white guy in an all-black school. So it's a great, great story of how to do things the right way, James, and not just insult and lie about and stereotype people.
I like feel-good stories like that, but we have to tell the truth about the reality of what's going on. And the reality is, is that in St. Louis too? That's the St. Louis police?
No, this is in Minneapolis.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, it was Minneapolis. That's right. In Minneapolis, those 4 cops got charged because of politics. We have to address the evil that's going on too. I like the stories. There's a lot of decent people that are trying to do the right thing and be a good example and be positive or whatever. But I'm leery about some of those feel-good stories because it's kind of making you feel good when there's outright evil and injustice against white and POC cops who happen to put the knee on the wrong neck, you know?
No, we disagree on that. But the point is that...
Well, it was just politics that they were is why they were charged. And there's no chance...
Doing the right thing and getting involved and leading these people by leading by example and not just, what you call standing up and speaking the truth, James, is not always the truth, in my opinion, at all.
I know, but the reality is that man... Is there any juror in the world who doesn't know about George Floyd and has been brainwashed by the imagery before all the facts came in and before all the footage came in of, this poor victim, George Floyd, and this stupid racist cop, which wasn't turned out not to even be true? Is he going to get a fair trial?
Well, it's interesting.
It's a corrupt culture.
About the cop who was kneeling on his neck, and he said, I wasn't the least bit surprised that he did that.
Who said that?
The cop I was telling you about. The football coach.
Oh, so he joined in on smearing that cop? Is that what you're saying?
He's just saying that he wasn't surprised.
Shame on him.
Yeah.
See, I told you these feel-good stories are not necessarily from good people. That doesn't sound like an honest black cop.
You don't know that cop who was kneeling is a good cop or not. You have no idea. You're just taking sides because he's white.
I'm not picking sides because he's white. I'm saying innocent unless proven guilty, and these guys are smearing this cop when they have no idea whether he's guilty or innocent. You're the one picking sides against me because you hate Jesse Lee and you hate us telling the truth about the bad situation with blacks.
I just wish you would stop lying and stereotyping and denigrating.
You need to be more honest with yourself because you do hate him.
I don't hate him at all. I just wish he would stop lying and denigrating.
You're not being honest.
I am being honest.
No,
I've said
you're
many
not.
times that Jesse's message would be fantastic, and I'd be a huge fan if he would just stop lying and denigrating the stereotype.
According to Brandon M., at the peak of black slavery in the South, only 6% of Southern whites owned slaves. If you include the white people in the North, it means that only 1.4% of white Americans.
I'll trust the Smithsonian. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. You like to believe what you want. Take care, Joe. We'll talk.
Yeah. Yeah, bye.
Bye. Let me get to Kelly, a first-time caller in Utah, about the guy getting arrested for memes. Kelly, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
So, I'm a veteran of the 2016 meme war. I pretty much almost made it like a full-time job making memes, to get Trump in.
Did you know Ricky Vaughn?
I can't really remember. I don't know.
You familiar with the name?
Yeah, it seems like I know the name, but
I knew the name.
Yeah, that's about all I know too. But the situation is BS. I mean, it's
right.
So, I mean, are they gonna come after people like me? Because I've got. So here's the thing: Twitter banned me. Of course, along with everybody else a while back. But they didn't just ban me; they froze my account somehow to my IP. I don't know anything about it, but they did something like that. I can't get it off my computer. But so I logged on with using a different username or whatever, and I looked up my band handle.
Yeah.
And when I did, every single comment ever made, like where I argued with somebody, or any comment ever made to slander me or, make me look bad or whatever, was all left up. It's all right there. But none of my replies are on there, and none of my tweets, none of my followers. I mean, They deleted everything of mine, but they left everything up that slanders me. So I guess I can't do anything about it. I tried to close my account. Twitter won't allow it. They won't let me close my account. So they're making me keep it open, and they've got negative stuff about me, but they deleted everything that I've ever, in defense of myself or whatever,
Wow.
I think Twitter is the one that probably got this Ricky Vaughn thing going. They're probably, snitching in real time.
Right. Yeah.
That's why they're freezing people's accounts. I'm not the only one.
Ricky Vaughn's real name is Douglas Mackey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mackey.
Yeah, I don't know who he is. He's young, though. This is
31
sad.
years old only. Yeah, so he was in his mid-20s when he was doing these memes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy.
It's not right.
And I mentioned about how they acted like they were going to trick the blacks into saying you could text in your vote. That's what this, that may have been the case. That may have happened a little bit. But it was a much bigger thing to tell Trump supporters, vote on, because the vote took place November 8th. They were saying, vote on November 9th, Trump supporters. You can text your vote. And they told them that you can text their vote. There was this huge push. And you can imagine there's some people that aren't paying much attention. Just like how they feel sorry for the blacks.
All these celebrities pushing leftist policies. What about all that?
Yeah.
What about Twitter and Facebook's involvement in the election?
Very corrupt. Yep, exactly.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting. So hopefully Ricky Vaughn gets,
justice. It's unjust that he was even arrested and accused of this silly thing. It's silly.
Here's the thing, with this Biden administration, it's not right, okay? I'm struggling with this kind of wondering, okay, because I thought when nobody else was going to step in, nobody else had held Trump. The world is against him, but he is right. He's doing God's work, I believe, And I feel like nobody stepped in for him, even maybe it's God's time to step in for him. And nobody's doing anything. But this Biden stealing this election and being in office, this is wrong.
Right.
This is
I know.
This is like telling a kid it's okay to lie and steal.
Yeah.
I can't believe that.
Very
I can't
true.
believe we've come to this. It's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary. So who knows what's
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, Kelly.
I was out in D.C. You too.
Don't be distraught about what's going on. Oh, there's
I'm not.
Ricky Vaughn.
I'm just waiting for an opportunity to jump on some lawsuits.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just be wise and alert.
Yep.
Here on out. Okay, take care.
Okay, well, bye.
Bye. Quickly, let me get to Mandla in South Africa. He wants to comment on George Floyd. Mandla, how are you doing?
Yeah, hi.
Hey.
Hi, Hake. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. Real fast. We're coming down to the wire.
Yeah, I was just commenting on the previous, I think it was the male caller that was speaking about cases, because I noticed regarding that case, remember that case that I told you about, the guy in that case of the one that was politicized, the first one.
George Floyd or Trayvon Martin or Michael Brown?
Yeah, Trayvon. Because when they did investigation on it, they found out that there was a lot of information that the police had that they didn't use in that trial.
Oh, interesting.
In the Trayvon Martin case, even with
they didn't charge him at first. They didn't want to. They knew that it was self-defense. They didn't charge George Zimmerman at first. The only reason he was charged was because of politics.
Then, after they did it, after political pressure and public outcry,
exactly,
they then charged him, because that was the same thing that happened with OJ. It was the same situation.
Oh,
so thinking that won't happen this time is is like fooling yourself, because we now know that the courts are.
No, they're gonna keep on. They're gonna keep on going after cops, and especially white cops, until they get them. Yeah, they're not gonna give up.
Yeah, but
and they don't care about actual justice.
Because I don't think that necessarily it's only white cops that are suffering, because in that.
Of course not.
In that, like, Black Lives Matter, there was a senior cop that was shot in the head, and he died.
I know. He was actually a retired cop, but they're especially going after the white cops, because if it were a black cop with a knee on the neck, they wouldn't have cried racism as much. They would have just gone after cops, period, if it even had gone viral. You know what I mean? They're doing it because it's white on black, and they're assuming that it's because he's a racist with no evidence. So what a mess.
But like, I think I'm also, I feel like in the Republican Party, there's a bit of a tendency for people that are into like conspiracy theories to like follow the party, and like the like things like QAnon and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know how that connects to this story, but there are a lot of people who are on the losing side that fall into conspiracy theories.
I was just saying that I was just saying that I fear that it's going to become like a safe haven for people that are into such things.
Oh.
Like, because I think I told JC one time that there was a documentary that Larry Elder actually recommended for people to watch, that was speaking about alternative energy, how it's not feasible and all that stuff, and only to find out that it was using old information and old clips to. I'm not a proponent of like global warming, or I don't push that idea, but I'm just saying it becomes a bit scary, because also we say that Republicans say that they want like open cities, but then they don't want to support the like idea of like wearing masks to like prevent the spread, because it's not like no one knows.
It's not I don't think that the Republicans are necessarily against masks, and a lot of the people are reacting to the oppressive wear a mask stuff by people who aren't for what's right. But you are right. We need to stick with what's true, regardless. Mandla, I gotta run. Like, appreciate it, man. We'll talk again. Take care, man. Have a good weekend. I'm sorry, Rick and Art. Rick from Hampton, Virginia. Art from Ohio, and the rest of the callers. This is the end of the show. We got the Fallen State coming up in about an hour. Yeah. But Mandla's right. Stick with what's true. Don't jump into conclusions. Otherwise, we're just going to keep losing. A lot of people are, especially when you're on the side that looks like it's losing right now, you're going to start to say, it's going to start to call things conspiracies that aren't necessarily, and just jump into things that aren't true. Jump into believing things that aren't true. You don't have to fall for that. Just stick with what you know. TheHakeReport.com for my stuff. RebuildingTheMan.com/church for Church with Jesse Lee Peterson. JesseLeePeterson.com. And in less than an hour, TheFallenState.tv. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube as well as Odyssey, ODYSEE.com, I think, /@TheFallenStateTV. And also on BitChute, BitChute.com /TheFallenStateTV. And it's also available on audio podcasts. Very nice. All right, guys, take care.
Report.